Welcome to the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. This is where we celebrate the women shaping the heavy music world on stage, in the studio, and beyond the veil of the ordinary. Today's guest is a force of nature, a classically trained soprano who has commanded stages from regional opera houses to Carnegie Hall. She made the fearless leap, and I mean fearless, from opera into metal, bringing with her unmatched power, drama, and darkness. She is Rachel Adamson, the commanding vocal presence behind Netherdred, a band that's not just making music, but building an entire universe, too. Netherdred's brand new EP, Lords of Mayhem, came out in November, and it's the first chapter in a trilogy that fuses classic heavy metal, blackened intensity, and cinematic storytelling into what they call the Netherverse, a world of monsters, morality, fate, and consequence. I'm happy to have Rachel Adamson join me here on the Metal Queens podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. So let's start with, you spent decades immersed in opera and classical music. You probably get asked this a lot. What was the moment you realized that metal was no longer just an influence, but a calling?
Wow. So I will tell you, it was a very specific moment. It was right around 2018, 2019. And I will say that I always knew that the genre existed. So I lived inside of a classical bubble, but I at least knew who Iron Maiden was. My brother has always been a huge metal fan.
Mm.
So it was right around 2018, 2019. I was going through kind of a difficult time. Just in my life, just trying to figure things out. And I found that when I drove to work, I would start putting the radio on the heaviest channel that I could find. And that just sort of calmed me down and made me able to, get ready and kind of get into the zone to go to this job that, wasn't my favorite job, but
Mm.
I found that the heavier the music was, the darker it was, the more it kind of relaxed me, and I found myself really starting to enjoy it. So then fast forward just a little bit, and my brother had made me a like a mix CD, and on it was a live version of Maiden's Hallowed Be Thy Name. And I had heard of them. I had heard a couple of songs, but that was when I really like actually listened to it, and I thought, this is kind of operatic. I mean, Bruce's voice is such a powerhouse. So I really, that was a moment for me. And then same brother also said, hey, maybe you should try listening to Nightwish. And I was like, I don't know this band. Why not? Sure. And I brought it up on YouTube and I clicked on the first song that I found, which was a live recording of their Ghost Love Score. And my mind was totally blown. I had no idea that this genre, this symphonic metal existed. And I was like, this is perfect. It's powerful, it's forceful, it's energetic, but yet there's still this classical, beautiful voice, this operatic sound on top. And I just completely fell in love. So I was always the classical singer that really enjoyed, more the darker side of things.
Mm.
So it just seemed like a natural fit. I feel like maybe this is where I should have been all along, but whatever. I found my way here and I'm very glad.
Yeah, Nightwish comes up pretty much every other interview here on the Metal Queens
Ye-
podcast as an inspiration,
Oh,
or
absolutely. And
an
I saw
influence.
that you interviewed Taria. Oh my
Yeah. Oh,
gosh.
she was great. Wonderful. Yeah.
Sh-
Great interview. Yeah.
Oh, one of my musical heroes, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Was the transition from opera, Rachel, to metal terrifying? Was it freeing, or a bit of both?
It was a bit of both, to be
Mm.
honest. Classical and opera is very structured. We have a very rigid structure of how, and I guess I should say this, I speak only from my experience in classical and opera. I don't want to generalize, the whole genre. This is just my personal experience. But for me, I found that as I got older in that realm, it got a little bit more the structure I was starting to kind of, wanting to push against. I wanted to do things a little bit different. I wanted to do characterization and interpretations a little bit different. And I remember I had a voice teacher, and she would say, no, 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 you can't sing that role that way because that's just not how it's done. These are your inspirations. This is how Mozart has always been
Mhm.
sung. This is how you have to do it. So I definitely started to feel like I've gotta, I need some freedom. So yes, it was very freeing to finally break out and to do something different and to do things the way that I always wanted to do it. But yet terrifying because again, I had spent years, decades singing this very, refined style. And I had to train a lot. I did a lot of listening and a lot of exercise. It took me about a year to even just start getting more of a rock metal sound. I call it, kind of like declassifying my voice, kind of
Mhm.
de-operatic my voice. And that took about a year, and it's still honestly a work in progress. I listened to a lot of singers. I did a lot of very weird exercises, and I sang in my closet at the time because I didn't have a studio, I didn't have a practice space. I was singing in the closet because we had thin walls and neighbors around. Um, but it was terrifying because I thought, well, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm only built for classical, and maybe that is just the way, that my voice is just going to go. But just one day, I just kind of had a breakthrough, and I don't know, things just sort of clicked, and all the listening and studying I had done, it just worked, and I thought, okay, maybe I can do this, and it's just kind of been a journey from there. Like I said, it's still a learning process. I'm still, always listening, thinking, okay, that singer, how do they make that sound? Okay, and I'll start experimenting. And thankfully, the guys in Netherdred are so wonderful and always give me such creative freedom, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
and I always say to them, how does this sound? Should I sing it like this? Should I sing it like this? And like, do whatever you want. So it is. So yes, to answer your question, it was both. But honestly, I love this so much. I don't think that I could go back to classical and opera now. Just the energy, the freedom, and one of the most important things that I have learned is that it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the standard, or at least that was when I was in classical and opera, is that, perfection was
Got to be
standard.
perfect. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I don't have to be now. And it's like it takes so much pressure off. It's amazing. It's quite liberating in so many ways. So
Who were some of the singers you were listening to when you were first starting out with metal?
So I listen to a lot of Hailstorm.
Mhm.
Lizzie Hale has, I mean, just her voice is so incredible. It's so powerful. And the way that she's able to enunciate and kind of get a little bit of that snarl in there in a lot of her tones. So I listened to her a lot. I listened to Taylor Momsen with Pretty Reckless. She's just got such an amazing natural kind of like grit to her voice. Um, I- it's not something that I can do. I can't make that sound, but I try. I try sometimes. Um, and I try and add a little bit of fry here and there where I can. So, like I said, again, it is a journey where, at the beginning, if you listen to some of the earlier recordings that I did with my previous project, my previous band, A Simple Complex, um, those recordings, it's like, okay, all right, that's pretty good. But now I think I've evolved even more with Netherdred, adding some of those, little vocal nuances. Little fry here and there where I can. But yeah, I don't know. I was even just listening to anybody that I would just turn on the radio and just listen and say, okay, well, that's a cool sound. How do I do that? How can I replicate that? Yeah. So it was a lot of Lizzie. It was a lot of Taylor. Yep.
Nice. Netherdred. It isn't just a band, it's a universe. What was it
It is.
about the Netherverse that made you say, this is where I belong?
Again, I think it comes down to the freedom of having total creative license to do kind of vocally what I want. It's kind of a funny story. I was actually out of town and I got an email from Trek, the drummer, and he says,
Mm.
"Hey, we're looking for a singer for this universe, this Netherverse, for this band, And I said to him, via email, of course, I was out of town. I was like, tell me more about this project. Tell me what you're looking for. They said, we're looking for clean vocals. And I'm always honest with everybody. I said, okay, because if you want the growling, if you want the screaming, that kind of stuff, I just can't, But they said, no, 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 we want clean. I said, perfect. So when I met them in person, they're all such great guys and they have such big personalities, and I just love them all to pieces. But they told me, they explained this Netherverse to me, and they're like, it's a world of characters. You've got everything, gods and goddesses, demons and heroes and villains, and it's just a world where our characters exist. And where we pull our songs from. And I just fell in love with the theatricality of it, again, given my background. I was like, this is where I can definitely see myself because I get to build a character the way that I want to build a character, the way that I see that person, not the way that, it's been done for 200 years, like Mozart and everything that I came from. So I really just enjoy being able to do things the way that I want to do. Not saying that there's not, interaction between us. Of course there is. I'm always asking, what do you see for this? What do you want vocally for this? But it's really just them saying, you put your spin on it. And sometimes the more into a character that I get, the more they love it, which is so exciting. Because sometimes I feel like I'm just being silly, but they're like, oh, no, 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 we love that. Keep doing that. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So yeah, it's just the freedom of the whole thing. It's so exciting to me to get to make new characters and to build new characters and to, to hear something or to see something in my head and to be able to act that out, in drama on stage and also vocally. I'll hear a certain line one way and I'll say, I think I want to do it this way, and they're always so supportive and say go for it. So definitely, yeah, I have found a home with these guys that is 100% for sure.
Do you see your role more as a narrator, a character? You've mentioned character a lot, or a
Hmm.
sorceress, guiding listeners through the story?
That's a great way to put it. There are definitely some songs where I take on a serious character, Spellbound being one of them, where I completely encompass that character. But I like the way that you put it. Yes, a sorcerer guiding them through
Mm.
the. We're gonna go for that. Um, every song, I try and make my performance vocally and artistically, I try to make each song, a little bit different, just so that you feel like there's a different vibe for each one. Um, but again, Spellbound is kind of like my baby. It's kind of the one where I just become that character. And that song is near and dear to my heart anyway. I wrote those lyrics years ago and I brought it to the guys and I said, "What do you think?" And they just sort of built up around it and it just became this amazing thing. And again, this is one of those projects where they said, yeah, whatever you want. What do you want? This is, you have a vision in your head, which I did. So you have a vision. What do you want? So yeah, I'm going to go with what you said. I am the sorceress that is guiding you through.
All right, good one. The Lords of Mayhem EP, first chapter in a trilogy. What does this
Yes.
opening chapter establish about the world and its themes?
Oh, I think it's really, I think at the most fundamental, it's an introduction. We're welcome to this world. This is a little taste of what you're going to get. Again, these are characters that we'll be introducing throughout, the entire album, through the next two installments and then the full album. So this is just an introduction to say, here's a little taste. Come and join us. Come, let us reel you in. Come and join us. I think you'll like it here.
And how does the Netherverse come alive differently on stage versus in the studio?
Oh, there is so much energy between these guys. When we all get together, first off, we just laugh. I mean, that's of course what we do the most of. But there's so much energy, and all of these guys just love being on stage and performing so much, as do I. I feel like it's a whole different part of me that comes completely to life. My husband always jokes with me, and he says, okay, the person that you are on stage is really you. That's you.
Mm,
The day to day is your facade. That's
mm,
that's you just
interesting.
pretending. Yeah.
Mm,
So I come alive 100%. And it's all like for me, especially, through so many years of having to be choreographed on stage, the opera world is all choreographed. You stand here for this part, you moved here for this part. I don't do any practicing as far as movement when it comes time for a show. It's just all spur of the moment, and I just let the energy guide me. So every show is different as far as what you get on stage from my performance. Just because I like to just live completely in that moment and let just the music wash over me, let the energy come. I just get so excited. And like I said, I come to life on stage. What can I say? I'm a performer it's always been that way.
and what is next for Netherdred the rest of this year? Any more new music coming? And what about touring?
Yes, so we are working on songs. It's an ongoing process for us, and we actually have a show tomorrow here in town that we're doing that is a benefit for a local charity. So we're super excited to be a part of that and help our community. We're all, just looking forward to helping raise as much money as we can and help the community, help the people who help others. So that's tomorrow with a few other bands, a few other local bands. So we're really looking forward to that. And we're doing one of our newer songs tomorrow as well. That's part of one of the set list. And we are applying for festivals and trying to get out there as much as we can. And as far as recording, I'm hoping that we can get back into the studio, record the second EP, hopefully this spring, this summer. That's my hope. Granted, it's up to the gods and goddesses and everybody else in the band. So we'll see. But yeah, we're hoping for a busy summer with festivals and hoping to get back in the studio. Writing is ongoing. I've got some lyrics that are almost ready to go for some new pieces. So yeah, I think it's going to be a busy spring and summer for us.
All right, she's Rachel Adamson. She's proof that power doesn't come from staying inside the lines. It comes from breaking them. From opera halls to metal festivals, from classical precision to cinematic chaos, Rachel has found her true voice inside the Netherverse, and you can see that and hear that. And Lords of Mayhem is only the beginning. Make sure you check out the EP. It's out now on Bandcamp. Follow Netherdred for upcoming shows and maybe some festival appearances as well. Website is netherdred.com, and you can follow him on social media too. Rachel, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for watching the Metal Queens podcast. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, write a review. I'm Steve Richards. I'll talk to you again next time.